I spent over $500,000 raising my stepdaughter college, vacations, cars, everything, while her biological father disappeared for years. Then one day, after reminding me I'm not her real dad, she demanded I adopt her so she could qualify for my inheritance. That's when I realized exactly what I meant to her. Hello, Reddit I plus here. I'm starting to think I spent 15 years raising someone else's child just to become her personal ATM. I'm 46 now. My wife Sabrina is 43. We've been married for 12 years. When we met, she already had a daughter named Kiara, who was 10 at the time. Her biological father, Darnell, was the definition of inconsistent. He drifted in and out whenever it was convenient for him, usually around birthdays or holidays, always showing up with some cheap gas station teddy bear and a speech about how daddy's trying. Trying what, exactly? Nobody ever knew. Meanwhile, I was the one waking up at 6 in the morning to drive Kiara to school when Sabrina had early nursing shifts. I was the one sitting through dance recitals, science fairs, orthodontist appointments, panic attacks before exams, and late-night tears after her first breakup. I never had biological kids before meeting Sabrina, so I went all in. Completely. I treated Kiara like she was mine from day one. And financially? God. Looking back, I think I lost my mind trying to prove I loved her. Private school tuition, summer camps, a car at 16, braces, therapy after she got bullied freshman year, a Paris graduation trip, designer clothes because everyone else has them, a 6-month backpacking trip through Europe after high school because she needed to find herself. That Europe trip alone cost me almost 90 grand by the time flights, hostels, spending money, emergencies, and replacing the phone she got stolen in Barcelona were added up. Her biological father contributed exactly $0. Not reduced, not delayed, zero. But somehow, despite all of that, I was still not her real dad anytime I tried to enforce rules. Curfew? You're not my father. Grounded for sneaking vodka into the house? You can't tell me what to do. Asked her to keep her grades above a C average while I paid $30,000 a year for college? You're acting controlling. Every single time Darnell randomly appeared, Kiara acted like some celebrity had walked into the room. Didn't matter that he disappeared for months afterward. Didn't matter that he forgot birthdays half the time. One time he took her to lunch for 2 hours and she posted a paragraph online calling him the strongest man I know. I read that while sitting in the dealership waiting room after signing paperwork for her first car. I still remember staring at my phone thinking, what exactly am I doing wrong? But I swallowed it. Over and over again, because I loved her. Or at least I thought love meant enduring disrespect quietly. Things finally exploded this past year. Sabrina and I have an 8-year-old daughter together, Ava. Unlike Kiara, Ava is biologically mine. Recently, I started setting up a trust fund for her. Nothing insane, just long-term investments so she'd have stability later in life, college. Maybe a home someday, a safety net. I mentioned it casually during dinner. Huge mistake. Kiara's entire demeanor changed instantly. She got quiet first, then cold. A few hours later, she cornered me in the kitchen, asking why Ava deserved financial security. But she didn't. I honestly thought she was joking. I reminded her that over the years, I'd already spent hundreds of thousands supporting her life. Probably more than $500,000 if I counted everything honestly. That's when she hit me with this. So because I'm not biologically yours, I don't deserve the same treatment? The irony nearly made me laugh. This was the same girl who had spent years reminding me I wasn't her father whenever it benefited her. I tried staying calm. I explained the trust fund wasn't punishment. It was balancing things out because Kiara had already received enormous financial support. Then she dropped the real bomb. She wanted me to legally adopt her at 22 years old. I just stared at her. And suddenly, everything started making sense. Not emotionally, financially. Adoption would make inheritance issues a lot cleaner. Easier access to survivor benefits too. Easier legal claims later, especially because I own multiple rental properties and a decent-sized investment portfolio. I asked her why now after all these years. Her answer sounded rehearsed. I just want to officially feel like part of the family. Except nothing about her behavior over the years reflected that. And the worst part? Sabrina immediately sided with her. She started saying things like, "You've been her father in every way that matters." This would heal old wounds. If you really love her, why hesitate? But nobody seemed interested in addressing the giant elephant in the room. Kiara only wanted permanence once money entered the conversation. Not when I taught her how to drive. Not when I stayed overnight in the hospital after her appendix surgery. Not when I paid her tuition. Not when I emptied savings for her trips. No. Now. Right after hearing about trusts and inheritance. That timing didn't feel accidental. The house became miserable after I said I needed time to think. Kiara stopped speaking to me unless absolutely necessary. Sabrina started treating me like I was betraying the family. Then came the conversation that shattered whatever was left between us. I told Kiara I felt hurt that after everything I'd done, she still questioned whether I cared about her. And she looked me dead in the face and said, I never asked you to do any of that. You chose to. Stop acting like I owe you something. I swear, something inside me broke in that moment, because technically, she was right. Love given freely shouldn't come with invoices, but appreciation, respect, basic acknowledgement, those things matter, especially after sacrificing years of your life trying to be the parent someone else refused to be. Things got uglier after that. A week later, I found out Sabrina had already spoken to an attorney behind my back about adult adoption laws in our state. Apparently, they'd been discussing this for months before even bringing it to me. Months. I also discovered Kiara had been telling relatives I was excluding her from the family financially, not mentioning the college tuition, not mentioning Europe, not mentioning the car, just painting me as some cold stepfather favoring his real child. Then Darnell suddenly resurfaced after nearly a year silent. Funny timing again. He called me directly for the first time ever. He actually had the nerve to say, if you adopt her, you better make sure she's protected long term. Protected. From the man who financed her entire life while he vanished repeatedly. I hung up on him. A few nights later, Sabrina admitted something that made my stomach turn. Apparently, Kiara was terrified that if something happened to me, Ava would inherit everything while she'd be left with nothing. So this wasn't about emotional closure. It was exactly what I feared. Security, assets, inheritance, and honestly, I might have respected the honesty more if they'd just admitted it from the start. Now my marriage feels poisoned. I look at Sabrina differently, knowing she discussed legal strategies behind my back instead of talking to me honestly. I look at Kiara differently, knowing every dad she started calling me recently suddenly feels transactional, and the guilt is eating me alive because part of me still loves her, despite everything. But another part of me feels used. Like I spent over a decade trying to earn a place in someone's heart while they were quietly calculating my value in dollars. At this point, I'm considering separating finances completely and reevaluating the marriage altogether because I can survive being unappreciated. I don't think I can survive feeling exploited in my own home anymore. The next month turned into a complete circus. Once Kiara realized guilt wasn't working on me anymore, she switched tactics fast. At first, it was emotional manipulation. She started posting cryptic things online about children being treated differently and conditional love. Family members I hadn't heard from in years suddenly started calling Sabrina, asking why I was cutting Kiara out. One of Sabrina's cousins actually sent me a 3-paragraph text about how real fathers don't separate blood from love. That one almost made me laugh, considering Darnell still owed over 18 years of unpaid child support. But the pressure campaign kept escalating. Kiara suddenly became unbelievably affectionate around me in public, calling me dad loudly at restaurants, posting old photos of us online with captions about family forever, telling people she was finally healing her abandonment wounds. It felt rehearsed, like she was building a narrative. And behind closed doors, completely different person, cold, hostile, entitled. One night she cornered me in my office and asked directly how much Ava's trust was worth. Not joking, not casually curious, directly. I told her that wasn't her business. She immediately started crying, not normal crying either, the dramatic kind where someone keeps checking whether you're reacting. You're replacing me with your real daughter, she said. I was exhausted at that point. I told her calmly, Kiara, I have already spent more supporting you than most parents ever could. This isn't punishment, but you are not entitled to every financial decision I make for Ava. Wrong answer, apparently. The next morning, Sabrina exploded at me for making Kiara feel unwanted. That argument lasted 3 hours, and during it, Sabrina finally revealed something that changed everything for me. She said, if you adopt her, this all goes away, not if you love her. Not, she's hurting. No, this all goes away. Like it was a business negotiation. That sentence flipped a switch in my brain, because suddenly I realized this wasn't emotional anymore. It was pressure, coordinated pressure. So I quietly hired my own attorney. Best decision I made the entire year. The lawyer listened to everything and immediately told me to stop discussing finances inside the house. He also advised me not to sign anything, promise anything, or combine additional assets until things became clearer. Then he asked a question I hadn't even considered. Has your wife ever pressured you into adding Kiara to property documents or beneficiary accounts before? And suddenly, memories started replaying in my head. Sabrina casually suggesting I split ownership equally between the girls. Kiara asking weirdly specific questions about my life insurance. Conversations about fairness every time I bought something for Ava. It started feeling less like family tension and more like long-term financial positioning. A week later, things got even worse. Kiara showed up with printed paperwork about adult adoption laws and placed them on the kitchen table in front of me. Then she said, if you refuse, You're basically admitting you never saw me as family. I looked at the papers for maybe 5 seconds before sliding them back toward her. I'm not signing anything. Silence. Then came the mask slipping. You owe me after all these years, she snapped. That sentence hit harder than everything else combined, because there it was, the truth. Not love, not family, debt. In her mind, my support had created an obligation that never ended. I asked her quietly, "What exactly do you think I owe you?" And she unloaded everything she'd apparently been holding in for years. She accused me of never loving her equally. Claimed I only supported her because it made me look good. Said Ava would always matter more because she was biological. Then she said something truly insane. If you die tomorrow, everyone knows Ava gets everything and I get tossed aside. I stared at her. Not because I was shocked anymore, because I finally understood. This entire situation was driven by fear of losing access to my resources, not fear of losing me. And once I saw that clearly, something emotionally disconnected inside me. The manipulation got uglier after that. A few days later, Sabrina threatened divorce unless I reconsidered the adoption, not separation. Divorce. She actually said, "You're destroying this family over paperwork." Paperwork. As if legal adoption and inheritance rights were tiny, meaningless details. So I told her the truth for the first time. If Kiara had asked me to adopt her at 12 years old because she genuinely loved me as her father, I probably would have cried and signed immediately. But asking now, after years of rejecting me, immediately after learning about trusts and inheritance? I'm sorry, but I don't trust the timing. Sabrina called me paranoid. Then came the biggest mistake they made. They pushed too hard. Apparently, Kiara had spoken to another lawyer without telling me. I found out because she accidentally mailed one of the consultation invoices to the house under Sabrina's name. The consultation notes were attached. I wish I never read them. Most of it was legal language, but one sentence stood out. Client concerned biological sibling may receive disproportionate estate distribution absent formal adoption. Estate distribution. There it was in black and white. No more pretending this was emotional. I confronted Sabrina immediately. She tried denying it at first until I showed her the papers. Then everything exploded. Screaming, crying, accusations flying everywhere. Kiara stormed into the argument halfway through and started threatening court action. She claimed she could sue me for promised support and emotional damages because I had presented myself as her father. My attorney shut that down almost instantly. Turns out paying for someone's lifestyle voluntarily does not legally obligate you to fund them forever. Who knew? After realizing the legal threats meant nothing, Kiara completely lost control. She started calling me selfish, saying I ruined her sense of security, telling relatives I manipulated her childhood. Then came the final betrayal. I learned she'd secretly been asking my elderly mother questions about her will and assets months earlier. My mother, an 80-year-old woman recovering from surgery. That was the moment every remaining ounce of guilt left my body, because this had spread beyond emotional confusion into outright opportunism. So I made some decisions. I separated finances, moved a large portion of my assets into protected trusts, updated every beneficiary designation. And most importantly, I stopped trying to buy love from people determined to weaponize it. Sabrina now sleeps in the guest room. Kiara moved out after realizing the pressure tactics failed. And the craziest part? The silence in my house finally feels peaceful again. Painful, but peaceful. I still love the little girl I helped raise, but I don't recognize the woman she became.